Well, the stock market collapse is coming, folks. Whether you like it or not, it's about to come. Now, it could come in the next few months. It could come in the next few weeks, but it's on the horizon. And the little guy is going to be crushed once again. Welcome to Morning Invest. If you're new here, thank you so much. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and smashing that like button. We've got an amazing community of almost 400,000 people, and we do this show live every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So thank you for joining us. I love our amazing community, so thank you for supporting the show. Look, folks, we are sitting on a bubble right now, a market bubble of epic proportions. It's epic. And it's not that hard to understand. I want to explain it to you as easily as I can today. And it's all right in front of our faces so we can dissect this. It's all right there, spelled out in black and white. And I'm going to try to put it in context for you today. Number one, we're in a pandemic. Okay. And the United States has done a terrible job. I gave you my Canada example earlier on the show, right? I travel the border, come across from Canada, and you see people that were there taking it seriously, and almost no cases of coronavirus, no major outbreaks in big cities. You come across the border, you have basically a government that hasn't paid attention to it and has ignored it, downplayed it, and hasn't taken it seriously. And we have massive outbreaks and nearly 200,000 people dead in the United States. So, and 30 million, and that's the dead. Now we have 30 million people unemployed. And folks, this economy, you know what I can't stand is the political garbage that you were hearing from the White House in Washington, that we were sitting on an amazing economy back in February. Let's take a look at that, shall we? Because the economy back in February was already uneven, even before we had this virus outbreak. Even before that, our economy was uneven. You had the rich getting richer, a middle class that was all but destroyed, and lower income individuals who or not able to have even an affordable wage or living wage that is keeping up with the cost of living. That was the reality of our economy back in February before this virus. So yes, Wall Street was doing fine. Rich people are doing fine. Middle class is destroyed. And lower income workers also suffering with mounting debt and the inability to get a wage that's suitable to be able to provide for their family. So that was the economy. That was excellent? No, it wasn't. We've had economies in America that were way better than that. Middle class is gone, and this lower income wage gap is growing by the day. So what else is happening? Well, right now, Congress can't pass a stimulus bill. Congress can't get its act together and pass a stimulus bill. The president has shown zero leadership on this. He had all summer to marshal the forces of his Republican friends in Congress and say, let's get something big done for the American people. He didn't. He punted it over to Congress. They punted it back to him, and he didn't get anything done. He was out playing golf. And now we're this close to the election with no stimulus, and the American people still unemployed, 30 million unemployed, about to face financial bankruptcy, medical bankruptcy, and being kicked out of their homes in the next few months when this eviction moratorium winds down because they have no rental assistance. That's your great economy. That's your great accomplishment. But there's one agency in the United States that has been doing great. It's been operating like a bullet train. It's been doing phenomenally well. You know what agency that is? Yes, it's the central bank, the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has been doing fantastic. It's the one government agency that has been, has stepped up and has been flawless in this whole thing. They've been doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, which is supporting Wall Street and rich people, corporations, while the little guys suffer. That's exactly what the Federal Reserve is structured to do, and they've been hitting the ball out of the park. Haven't they? They've done such an amazing job. They're flooding Wall Street with trillions of dollars of money. So Wall Street is totally happy, but there's a major problem though, and it's why Warren Buffett just sold off millions of dollars in stock. Oh, sorry, billions. This is why Warren Buffett just sold billions. So you see, the problem is that these companies right now can't sell the stuff that they usually make. So if you understand what the Federal Reserve is doing, has been pumping billions of dollars, trillions of dollars into these big companies. Well, the problem is that unless they're cars and houses, they can't sell the goods that they're making. People aren't buying them. You know why? Because you're unemployed. People don't have the money to buy it. They have the insecurity of not knowing whether or not they're going to be able to pay their rent. or pay their mortgage. So they're not buying those frivolous things. They're buying houses and cars, and those are the rich people. The upper middle class, they're buying houses and cars, and those are doing fine. But all of those other services, all of those other goods, they're just sitting there. So where does that money go? If the Federal Reserve is pumping all of this money into these companies, where does that money go? Guess where it goes? There's only one place left where that money can go, and it goes into the stock market. See, what happens is the one place left where people can actually make money with money, it's in the stock market. You buy a share of stock, hold it for a few weeks or a few months, sell it to a person just like you, who, with a low interest rate, cheap free money from the Federal Reserve, and these people are buying up stocks. So the stocks go up, and the rich people who own most of the stock make the money, and then the rest of us end up living with it. The rich people make the money, and the rest of us end up living with it. And all of these stocks right now are like artificially inflated. So that's the problem, is that most of these stocks right now are artificially inflated, and it's the little guy that doesn't know that. It's the little guy watching right now that is going to get crushed. It's the little guy that is going to lose their shirt if they don't know what they've invested in. But it's the savvy investor, it's the rich investor that knows how to play the game, and they're making millions. Again, it's that small little group of billionaires and millionaires making money off of this right now, while the rest of us suffer. And while the stock market is going to collapse and these people are going to lose millions of dollars, it's going to be a bloodbath. Jim Cramer was talking about this. He was saying, look, these S&P guys, all these other guys, they're going to be fine. It's the people that download Robinhood, the trading app, and saw everyone talking about how great the stock market was over the past few months. They got involved in the stock market, then they start trading, and they don't even know what they're buying. They just hear people on Twitter talking about a stock, or they see some YouTuber talking about stocks to buy, which happens. I've seen these YouTube channels where they'll tell people to go buy a stock, then the YouTuber makes money off of that trade, because now all these people that on his YouTube channel go and buy that stock, and then the stock goes up and he sells it. It's the power of the internet now. It's not just people on television anymore, but that's what's happening. And the little guy gets screwed. So he's warning these Robinhood people, these people that use they're just their phone to invest. They're going to get crushed. Listen to Cramer, and he gets fired up about this, and I think he's absolutely right, and you better pay attention to what he says.
At the value guys, the S&P guys, not even S&P names, they're not going to come in. The margin guys are going to get margined out, and I am specifically going to call out the Robinhood people. I know that this is something that we're not necessarily focused on, in the sense that there's a broader cohort than Robinhood, and I'm using it as a rubric, but many of them are so over their heads that they will get so angry that I said that. But Carl, I remember in March and April of 2000, I remember what it was like. I know there were a lot of people who said, you know what, I'm a millionaire. I'm not going to pay taxes. I'm a millionaire. Carl, these people lost everything. I think it's my job as a guy who follows stocks to say, do you know what the stock is? I read on Twitter this weekend that there were some people who just said, look, you know what? I love XYZ. And when I find out what they do, and it's like, oh, will you cut it out? Don't be so damn proud of knowing nothing.
So he's saying on Twitter this weekend, there's people, I own all these stocks. I don't even know what's in it. And they're just being cavalier. I don't know what's in this stock. I don't even know, but it's going to be fine. Yeah. I read Cramer's book a number of years ago. About 15 years ago, I read one of his early investing books. And one of the things he talked about was never invest in a company unless you spend at least 10 hours a week researching that company. That's like me. I invest in real estate. I spend hours every week studying real estate. And that's what I invest in, because I understand it. That's why I don't invest in the stock market. Paper assets. The only stocks I have are with companies like Apple, where I study them constantly. And they're companies that aren't going anywhere. But you just these random millennial traders right now who are living in their parents' house. You see that story? How many kids are moving back home and just living there permanently now with their parents, and they're trading stocks on Robinhood, etc. They are going to get crushed, because the bloodbath is coming, folks. Warren Buffett sold off billions of dollars in stocks. And I want to say this, and this reminds me of the Zoom. We'll get to Warren Buffett in a second because it's incredibly important. But it's like the Zoom problem, what like Jim Cramer's talking about here. When this pandemic first hit, everyone was like all excited about Zoom stock, right? Because everyone's at home, so they're buying Zoom stock. Great. But then you had all these ignorant investors started buying up Zoom stock, or they thought it was Zoom, and other people were just promoting ZM, the initial ZM, and it wasn't Zoom at all. It was a totally other company. So the SEC got involved in this, and it was a penny stock. The SEC thought it was suspicious because suddenly this penny stock is going up, and it wasn't even the company Zoom. It had nothing to do with it. They halted the trading, and then all of these people lost tons of money because they thought they were investing in Zoom, and they picked the wrong company. I mean, how ignorant do you have to be? You don't even know the symbol of the stock you're investing in? Billionaire investor Warren Buffett just sent us a huge warning, and we should all pay attention to it. Because remember, watch what they do, not what they say. So Warren Buffett's encouraging people to still kind of invest in the stock market, right? But what he's doing is not. He's selling his stocks. He's just sold billions of dollars in overvalued bank stocks. He just sold billions of dollars in airline stocks. The list goes on and on, what he's sold and what he's just sold. So what has he been buying? Gold. Real estate. Funny, isn't it? He's telling people, just keep investing in the stock market. He did that last time. He did that during the 2008 crash. He was not buying anything. He was selling and just sitting on his cash, waiting to pounce and buy real estate and gold as the stock market was about to collapse. It's happening again right now. He's a value investor. He loves finding companies that are undervalued and cheap that he can add value to, or he buys them and waits for them to do better. And then because his famous value investing, it's named after him. There's a Warren Buffett indicator known as the Buffett indicator. This Buffett indicator is used to analyze the overall stock market value because it compares your GDP with the market capitalization of the stocks. So it's looking at the GDP versus the market. And that means that the Buffett indicator looks at how fast our economy is growing and how big our economy is. And right now, that Buffett indicator is saying that the stock market is trading at an all-time high valuation and saying basically it's 77% overvalued. That means this is a bubble, folks. This is an artificial bubble. And these stocks, this bubble will burst. Now, the big question is, does this overvaluation mean the stock market is going to collapse? I mean, that's the $64 million question. You might think, the stock market is overvalued. It's about to crash. It's no simple answer. But if we look at history, okay, this is where we learn from. We have to learn from history. Every time in the past that we've had this overvaluation of stock bubble, it's always burst and been carnage. And this could be the highest overvaluation we've ever seen. If you do not heed my warning, and you've got money sitting there in stocks that you don't know what you're invested in, you need to get your head examined. You need to get this money out of that and into smart investments like gold and real estate and silver, precious metals, actual physical items like real estate that are a hedge against this inflation. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about inflation here on the show and why that's the next big disaster we're facing with the Federal Reserve ramping up on that front. So you need to move into more stable assets, gold, silver, real estate, that is a hedge against inflation and out of this crazy bubble that we're about to experience. If you want to sit and watch it happen, be my guest. But I'm not going to be left holding the bag on this. All the signs are there. And Warren Buffett, one of the biggest indicators, Richard Wolff, other economists saying this is going to burst. This is about to happen. So heed my warning, please. And please, while you're heeding my warning, go ahead and smash that like button on this channel and also subscribe to the channel. And every day we publish our newsletter so you can read about investing, you can read about your money, you can read about the things that are happening in the business world that can help you and your family. This is not a Wall Street newsletter. This is for actual human beings, the 99%, not the 1% who are going to be fine when this bubble bursts. You can subscribe to that newsletter at morninginvest.com. It's totally free, delivered to your inbox first thing in the morning. So thank you, everyone, for all of your support here on the show.